Good evening, all. I hope all of you are back from the break. It is time to begin the next session. Women entrepreneurship is a fundamental promoting factor of all inclusive economic growth in developing economies. But the journey of becoming one isn't without hardships. To empower us on the opportunities and challenges, we have a keynote speaker. And to introduce her, we have Dr. Mukta Paliwal, Senior Data Scientist AI, Research Labs, and CTO of Persistent System. Dr. Paliwal is an AWS certified machine learning practitioner with overall experience of 15 plus years in ML domain. She has received the Excellence in Technology Award for her work in machine learning area at the annual event in Persistent in 2019, and also has a number of research publication in international and national journals. She's an eminent speaker of ACM India. We're honored to have you here, Dr. Paliwal.
Thank you so much. In fact, I feel honored to host today Dr. Abha Rishi for this extremely useful keynote that, at least for me, is an eye-opener because coming from a very academic background, I had never thought of entrepreneurship myself personally in my life, and I'm looking forward to have heard her point of view on why we had to get into this field. But before that, I would like to introduce her as a speaker to the larger audience. Dr. Abha Rishi is the CEO of Atal Incubation Centre-BIMTECH. She is also a chairperson of the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Development at BIMTECH. She is a senior faculty member, has overall 27 years of experience in industry and academia both. She is a PhD from Stanford University and one of few Indians to hold both a Chevening and a Fulbright scholarship. We feel so acknowledged and so humbled today to have you, ma'am, here. I would like to make a point that her passion is always students and women entrepreneurs, and she has mentored more than 1,000 women and students for their entrepreneurial journey. I'm so amazed for the amount of work you are able to bring on the table, ma'am. She is also a program director for BIMTECH for the states of UP and Orissa for the Goldman Sachs and ISB BIMTECH 1000 Women Global Project. She has been subject matter expert in Upgrade, and she has a lot of videos as part of the Startup India program for aspiring entrepreneurs. I would request you guys to go and have a look at those post the talk today. But before that, apart from all of this, she has co-founded 2 enterprises successfully, and she is an avid traveler. On top of that, she has traveled extensively across 21 countries, 5 continents as part of work in research and corporate. So I would really like to welcome you, ma'am, for today's session, and we are humbled to have you here. And before I hand over the mic and stage to you, I would like to make it a point. She has many accolades and awards to her name, and the list is really long to actually cover it here. But I just wanted to name the recent ones at least. She has won a Global Women in Leadership Award 2021, which is actually conferred by Global Council for Promotion of International Trade on the Women's Day. She has won National Leadership Award 2020. She has been felicitated for her contribution in developing ecosystem for entrepreneurs by the Government of India. She has also been a receiver of Silver Award in the Indian Management Conclave Awards category by Shri Pranab Mukherjee, the ex-president of India. And there are many more. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us the chance to listen to you today here, and over to you. Humbled to have you here. Most welcome from all of us from the ACM platform.
Thank you, Mukta. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I really hope that I'm able to add value to all of you here in the next 1 hour. I mean, that's when I'll say that my work has been done. So do you mind if I share my screen?
Definitely, yes. Please go ahead and all yours.
So you will, right. So as they say, a single picture speaks 1,000 words, and I actually believe in speaking as less as is possible and do as much as is possible. So when ACM reached out to me to talk about women entrepreneurship and see what could be said about all these things, so I thought, like, why not talk about women entrepreneurship? Because frankly speaking, one half of the entire population, if we are not there up in the balancing act, then it doesn't make any kind of sense to me. So I thought, okay, let me pick up this topic of women entrepreneurship. We have lots of challenges, but there are a lot of opportunities also. So I'll try to bring to the fore both the sides. So starting with, what is the reason for women entrepreneurship? I mean, what happens is many women, they become women entrepreneurs because they want to be independent. They don't, they got fed up with their bosses, all those nasty people sometimes who create all sorts of bad situations. So to get out of a bad situation and to be independent on their own, and also to create something of value. So people go in for entrepreneurship for these reasons. Some of them have a hobby which they want to make it into a profession also. Some of them are frustrated with the current jobs. And you all know that because of this pandemic, many people have been laid off. And then on the other side, you have the students who have just passed out, and there's no good job offer. I mean, there are some job offers, but they're not really up to the mark. So there are various reasons why people, and especially women, would like to think about entrepreneurship. But what happens? There are a lot of challenges. Even if you think about going into women entrepreneurship and starting your own venture, there are challenges. So what are these challenges? There are many if you look at it. And like I said in the beginning, that women in India right now run around 8 million enterprises, which constitute only 14% of the total entrepreneurs. But at the same time, we are nearly 50% of the population. Big skew there, right? So why don't we do it? These are some of the reasons. There are family expectations. And let me tell you, as a woman entrepreneur myself, and somebody who has gone through the grind, there are a lot of family expectations. So, and in the Indian milieu, the Indian culture puts the woman right in the center of the family, right? So you are a mother, you are a homemaker, you are a wife, you are a daughter, you are a granddaughter, you are a daughter-in-law. And I mean, there are so many roles which we all play. And that's just the family, the personal side of it. Think about the professional side of it. There's so many expectations on all of us. So how do we handle that? And along with that, start a venture, which is almost equivalent to having a small baby grow up. I mean, there's a lot of inputs which needs to come in. Then, of course, there is peer pressure. You are in a good, nice job, and suddenly you decide, okay, I'm fed up with this whole 9 to 5 rat race kind of thing, and I want to get into something of value, to do something of my own. You are earning good money. You might be earning like 2-3 lakhs a month or more. And then suddenly, when you start your own venture, you're down to zero. You're actually going negative because you'll be digging into your own bank account to take out money for sustenance in the first few months at least. So there's a lot of peer pressure. The people along with you, your classmates, they might be driving big flashy cars, and you become an entrepreneur. That means you'll have to go down the financial table. Then we look at the other side of the spectrum, students who have the enthusiasm, who don't have the kind of family expectations and peer pressure which are there, but they have other issues. So they have student loan issues. Many of them have gone into good institutions having taken loans. So the family now says, okay, you have to pay off the loan. So how do they go about? Because in a venture, in the first 1 year, at least, there's no money coming in. So how do they do that? So how do they pay their loans? And then, of course, the huge, big elephant in the room is the fear of failure, which all of us face. And very few are courageous enough to actually step out and say, okay, doesn't matter if I fail, at least I tried. So overcoming that challenge which is there within ourselves. I mean, this fear of failure is within ourselves. And let me tell you, the other external things are still easy to overcome, but this fear of failure is sometimes one of the biggest things to overcome, biggest challenges to overcome. And if you do overcome that, where do you get the initial funds? How do you get the first kind of money which is there that you need to start the venture? So I have tried to explain how you can go about kind of tackling these challenges. And I thought, let me put it into a slide, because anybody who is listening to us can kind of take a snapshot and say, okay, these are some of the solutions which I can put into my own life. And most of these things I'm speaking from experience also, because like Mukta said, I have started 2 ventures which are running successfully. Then I have, of course, I'm a wife, a daughter-in-law, and all the other things that I mentioned earlier. I'm all that. Plus, I'm a professional myself, and I do a lot of other stuff also. Like I help out with jail inmates to help start micro enterprises. So all those things are there. So how do you do all these things? So the first thing is setting the family expectations. Once you have your family on board, tell them this is what is going to be there for the next 2 years. If you're able to set their expectations, then and get them really on board, then of course you have a big support system. Let me tell you that the same people who might have been your biggest challengers could actually become your biggest support systems, because they make you think. They make you think and they tell you what needs to be done. They say that this thing is not going to fail. Take it in the constructive side. Don't take it negative. Think, okay, if they're saying that this is the way it is going to fail, think how you can overcome that. Think how you can mitigate that risk. So do those kind of things. And peer pressure, today's world, it's actually doing your own stuff. That's cool. It's not following the entire 9 to 5 kind of thing and like listening to people go blah, blah, blah. It's basically challenging yourself. And by challenging yourself, you also challenge your peers. So this, if I can do this, you haven't done it. So put it the other way around. Don't think that because they're having financial sustainability right now and they're much more ahead in the financial rat race, they're happy. If you are able to add value, and if you think that this is going to make you happy, that is when you start challenging them instead of them challenging you. Okay. So that's the whole change in mindset which needs to come in. And then besides all these things, you also need to train to succeed. Just like anybody thinking about going in for driving takes driving classes first. Similarly, when you're thinking about starting your own venture, you should also think about going in for workshops and classes which train you how to think in that particular manner. The idea might be yours, it's completely your own, but implementing that idea and how to take it forward, this many workshops are there. And frankly speaking, in today's world, there are a lot of women-oriented workshops which help you create those ventures wherein women are given those kind of support systems which were not there earlier. Then if you have been working in a job, try putting aside a little for working on your dream. Okay, if you have that kind of dream, start today, start next week, start next month, but start. Put aside just 5%, a small amount, a nominal amount, but this amount over a period of time creates a corpus which will give you that benefit of a buffer, right? So start creating those initial funds. Reach out to people whom you think will be able to fund you. They are the angels of this world, people who believe in you, right? So they are, or I mean, people call them angel investors. I actually call them, they're just angels because they help you fulfill your dream. So get in touch with them, create that network. And again, lots of grants are there. I'm going to be telling you about some of the grants which the government gives and some of the non-government grants also. So keep your pen and paper ready or your laptop ready or whatever it is. So as I go along, keep noting down those things and you can search it out. And the third one, which is there when it comes to financial things, is crowdfunding. This is actually gaining a lot of traction nowadays. People put in small amounts. They believe in you. They believe in your idea. They believe in your dream. And they're willing to give you that small amount. It could be 1,000 rupees. It could be 2,000 rupees. But when those 2,000 rupees multiplies, it becomes a big amount. And it can really help you start your venture. Then, of course, the infrastructure support, which is there. Most soft and hard infrastructure support can be found in incubators near you. That also I'll be covering in this 1 hour, which is there. That how to look for the incubators which are there, who are the ones which can help you out, and how do you approach them, right? So both soft, when I say soft infrastructure support, it means basically your software services, your mentors, your advisors, your coaches, and the trainings, all these things are soft infrastructure support. Hard infrastructure support, of course, is the buildings, I mean, where you sit, your desk and all those things. So if you have it at home, wonderful. If not, there are ways and means through which you can reach out and get that. Okay. If you have any questions, just post it out there in the chat. I'll keep looking at it. So today, right now, is for you to start thinking about this alternate means, alternate way to achieve your dreams. Okay. I'm not saying this for everybody. There are a lot of challenges, but yes, if you have that dream, if you have that potential, if you have that passion in you, then this is the time. Why? Because if you look at the way the Indian startup ecosystem has been, see the way we have grown. India is known as one of the unicorn creating countries in the world. 67% of the unicorns right now, they're servicing the global markets. We are exploding like anything. And like I said, there's a lot of support which has come in from the government and the non-governmental agencies to help startups, right? So I'm not going to explain this because this I've taken it from the Zinov report, which is there. You can just go online and you can get an access to it. You can read upon what is happening there in the Indian startup ecosystem. And like I said, India is the home of unicorns. Why? Because of all the support that has been given to the startups. And especially there's a drive from the government to push for women entrepreneurs. Never in India's history till now has there been so much emphasis on creating women startups. Okay. And the government has also created a lot of schemes and grants, like I said, I'll be talking about it. So yes, these are some of the statistics for you. We added the second highest number of unicorns after USA, right? I mean, think where USA is. It's nearly 300 years that it has got its independence. It's like working on it. And it has created that kind of infrastructure. In 75 years, India has achieved this. And this is all for you. So women, if you have that dream, ladies, gentlemen, of course, I mean, you have all the rights and the opportunities which are there, but ladies, think and let's go ahead. Again, some more statistics. You name it, women are there. Earlier, women used to be kind of relegated into the traditional industries like textiles and traditional handicrafts and all that stuff which is there. But today, women have broken through that. And many of the startups which are there in AI and deep tech, I'm seeing ladies coming ahead. And this I thought I'll bring to your view, because from what ACM was telling me, this is a platform for women in science. So most of the people who are out there, they are from the science background. So for you to think about it, it's very important, because there's a lot of need for startups in deep tech and AI and others which are there. So yes, and of course, unicorns. Look at them. So many of them are on their way to becoming unicorns, and a lot of them in the pipeline, right? So like I said, this is the time for women entrepreneurship. And how? So the government has encouraged a lot of entrepreneurship by giving in number of programs. Let me take them one by one, and I will be focusing on each of them. So these are the ones which I guess most of you know about: the Digital India Mission, the Startup India Mission, the Fit India Mission, Skill India, and Make in India. You must have read about some of these. So in each of them, like in Make in India, 25 sectors have been identified. But how does each of them work for women is what I'm going to be telling you now. Again, BIRAC, so SIDBI for women entrepreneurs, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, PM announces a 1,000 crore Startup India Seed Fund. And by the way, let me also tell you, our incubator is part of the Startup India Seed Fund, and we do distribute grants and CCDs for aspiring entrepreneurs. And our incubator also has this outlook that if there is a tie between a male and a female entrepreneur, then the female entrepreneur gets the funds more. pardon me, gentlemen, for saying this, but I am leading the incubator and I have my own agenda. My sisters need this as much as is possible. So, and that's, I mean, if I can make an impact in whatever small way that I can, I would much rather do that. So going on ahead, Startup India. This was launched in January 2016, and a corpus of 10,000 crores has been given to build up this strong ecosystem. And 10% of this corpus fund is reserved for women-led startups, right? And this is headed by Startup India, and you get the funds through CIED. And the scheme extends loans to enterprises in various dimensions. And these loans range from 10 lakh to 1 crore. Okay, so note this down. You can check out more about this in the internet. Then you have Udyam Sakhi by MSME, right? So under this, projects at the maximum cost of 25 lakhs are covered under this scheme. And these are some of the links to it. Again, it caters to around 8 million Indian women, because MSMEs, as most of you might be knowing, form the backbone of the Indian economy. And Udyam Sakhi helps to start, build, and grow. So you have 3 levels under which you can get the money, right? I have put the link out here. You can just go through it, and then you can also apply for it, right? Where you can register and apply for it. Then, of course, you have the Stand Up India. Here also, women entrepreneurs get loans ranging from 10 lakhs to 1 crore, fine? And then if it's a non-individual enterprise, then it has to be that the controlling stake should be with the women. And this scheme focuses only on SC/ST and women entrepreneurs. So standupmitra.in is the link. So you can have a look at it. Again, like I said, good schemes. And it again covers a range of things. Then of course, CGT MSc, but this is one which I am not very happy with, because the other schemes, people are getting money without too much trouble. I mean, most of the banks are handling it, but CGT MSc somehow or the other has not been able to really kick off. And this is basically because I'm finding that bankers sometimes have this issue of giving money without collateral. Okay, and when we talk about service industries, not much collateral is there. And there's one particular scheme under which they're pretty wary of giving money. And one more thing which I wanted to tell you is, 10 years ago, when I was handling this 10,000 women Goldman Sachs scheme, and around 200 women entrepreneurs under that, many of them were trying to get funds. So what would happen is, this lady would walk into the bank, and the bank manager sitting out there, the first question he would ask, Acha, okay, you want funds? Good. Who is working along with you? Your husband or your father? I mean, that is the kind of patriarchal outlook which many bankers had, because most of them were male. And unfortunately, they didn't have this whole idea that women could also become successful entrepreneurs and could drive their own ventures. But in the last 5 years, things have changed. For one, I'm seeing more and more women bank managers, and otherwise also I'm seeing a change in the mindset of the male bank managers also. They are much more willing to take risks on women. So yes, 10 years ago, and actually go for 5 years ago before that, when I was getting into this whole entrepreneurship thing, at the first thing which anybody coming in touch with me would be like, are you crazy? So 15 years ago, that was a question that used to be asked. But today, the world has changed. India has changed. And a lot of people, especially women, are making names for themselves in many ways. Remember Nykaa? If you have been reading the newspapers, you will see that Nykaa, which is led by a lady, has broken many barriers, right? So that, yes, good times are good for us. So make the best use of it. But of course, you have also schemes like I said, CGT MSc, which really doesn't deliver what is supposed to do. So forget about this, it's there. I mean, if you have a bigger vision in mind and you want more than like to 200 lakhs, 2 crores basically, and then yes, you can think about it. But if you're thinking about starting a smaller venture, then look at the other ones. Okay. Cluster development program, especially for women who are thinking about the NGO sector, who are thinking about microfinance and creating those kind of things, wherein you have a cluster coming in, and especially like in some of the smaller towns, you have small enterprises which are created around a specific kind of, I'll say, sector. Okay, so those kind of things are also funded by the government. If you're able to create that consortium, then you get money under the cluster development program. But then you have to bring together people to create that consortium. If you think you are able to network that, because I'm seeing quite a lot of networks and women-led networks which are there in the south of India. It's a bit missing in the north, but yes, we have a lot of them in the south and the west. So if people who are listening in from these places, and if you have that ability to create the consortia, go ahead. This is one of the best programs which are there, the cluster development programs. Okay, and women-owned enterprises are given special consideration in all the programs. The Sfuti Scheme, I don't know if you have heard about this, but this has got a lot of things which look at the traditional industries and artisans, and especially which deals with our handicrafts which are there and handlooms and other things. So to regenerate those traditional industries, Sfuti is a scheme which has come in. So there's a soft intervention which is around 25 lakhs, and you get 100% funding which is there. Hard interventions, which means that depending on the infrastructure that you need to put in, so that's around 75%. Cost of technical agencies. And if you look at here, you can also see how the clusters are created. So there's a heritage cluster, there's a major cluster, there's a mini cluster, there are a lot of things. Okay. So if you're thinking about starting your venture or starting something in this area, then Sfuti is another scheme that you should look into. Mudra Yojana for women who are thinking about micro enterprises. See, not every woman would like to think about scaling up into big numbers. So if you're thinking about smaller ventures, micro enterprises, you have these kind of things. And it doesn't require collateral security also. So that means without having any backing also, you can still go ahead. But you have to make sure that you create a proper plan, a proper business plan. Now, this is something that you should know how to do it. And that's where the training workshops that I talked about comes into play. Understanding how to create an actionable business plan and putting it together. So Shishu is there, which covers loans up to 50,000. Then from 50,000 to 5 lakh, there is Kishore. Then from 5 to 10, there is Tarun. And any small business owner who's thinking about like a beauty parlor, I'm sorry, there's a typo out here, beauty parlor, tailoring units, tuition centers, all these things can be funded under the Mudra Yojana. Then each of the banks also have their own schemes which are there. So like you can talk about the Sri Shakti package, which is there for women entrepreneurs run by SBI. Then there is Cent Kalyan, which is run by the Central Bank of India, Mahila Udyami by Punjab National Bank. So all these things are there. And similarly, I put out here, Oriental Bank of Commerce has got it, the Dena Shakti Bank, Punjab and Sindh Bank. So all these banks, and especially the public sector banks, have something or the other, which is specifically for women entrepreneurs. And otherwise also some of the loans which are taken by women entrepreneurs, the rate of interest which is put on the loan has a soft, what do you call it? It's called the soft scheme on that. Okay. Again, so there's a composite loan. So let me just ask one question to those who are out here, and maybe that you could put it out in there in the chat. Like, how many of you know about all these schemes? And I'm just only halfway through. Just if you could just type out there, I'll be happy to see what you're all saying. Did you know about all these schemes, or are you learning something in this? Say yes. Okay, so Chitra has said no, she was not aware. And others partially. Surendra Rajagopalji is saying partially. So yes, see, there are so many of them which are there out there for you people to really go ahead and get those things going, right? The only things which needs is your idea and your commitment. Fine. Okay, so we go on to the next one. Single window scheme by SIDBI. SIDBI is, I'll say, the big daddy of all the schemes which are there, and it really helps out in many ways. So it provides term loans, it provides loans for fixed assets, and many new projects which are there. And you can apply through the banks which are there. So SIDBI actually acts as a master funder. So it gives the funds to the various organizations, which in turn fund you. Okay, so some schemes SIDBI runs directly, but most of the schemes are run through other organizations. So it could be through banks, it could also be through incubators which are there. So there are some schemes under which like IIT Kanpur and others have got this kind of funding from SIDBI, and you can get grants under that also. So I'll be going ahead. Then we have, of course, startup schemes promoted by STVP, the Atal Incubation Centers. I'll be picking up a little more on the incubation centers, because for those who are starting out new, who don't have the family background of creating ventures, creating businesses, incubation centers can really play a very invigorating role. They can be catalysts in your development. Then METI has got a lot of schemes, MSME and BIRAC. Let me take up one by one. Look at the list which METI has. Okay, so these are some of the schemes which have been run by METI, and there's a TIDE scheme, there's a Center for Excellence scheme, and you can look at it. There are I've put a few COEs out here, the Center of Excellence out here. And if you think that you're anywhere near any of these, please do reach out to them. They can really help you in your journey, right? BIRAC schemes, especially for the science people out here, right? So this is something that I'm going to spend a little bit more time on. And also because after the pandemic has happened, there's a lot of impetus being given to the healthcare industry. So the BIRAC schemes, the first one, which is BioNest, which is funded through incubators, is there. And the focus is basically on biomedical devices, diagnostics, agri-based, drug delivery, all those things which deal with healthcare and more or less biotechnology. They are run through these schemes. Then we have the Bioignition Grant, which gives something like 50 lakhs for prototyping and scaling. Then we have Sitare, which is for students. And I'll especially request the engineering students to look at these kind of schemes, because while you're studying, there are some things that you can also pick up and work along. So whether you're in your undergrad or postgrad of engineering, and even those who are doing the research, they should also look at these schemes. It can really make a lot of difference. Okay. Then you have the Social Innovation Immersion Program called SIIP, SPERSH, Social Innovation Program for Products. So again, BIRAC also has a big kitty of schemes. So you just have to identify which one resonates with what you want to do, and then go ahead for that. These are a few other schemes which are there. Like I said, IIT Kanpur and IIM Lucknow give this seed support, which is there, and IFCIventure.com. Then Kiran scheme is there for budding women scientists. Now, this is something for people who wish to rejoin after a work break. I mean, many women, they take like leave, or they leave their jobs for taking care of their children. So once the children reach up to a certain level, they'd like to come back to work. So Kiran is a specific scheme which has been run by DST for budding women scientists. It's got nothing to do with entrepreneurship, but I thought let me put it here because I'm talking to women who are interested in doing something. So whether it's your own ventures or it's just coming back to your work, doesn't make any difference. But yes, I thought that's why I thought I'll put it here, the Kiran scheme for DST, by DST for budding women scientists. So coming on to what Niti Aayog is doing, again, it's doing a lot of stuff. And especially it's actually acting as a catalyst when it comes to the entrepreneurship, and that too among students in the country. So the first thing that they did is that they set up around 68 incubators pan-India. So most of them are operational right now. So it gives seed capital to the incubators to run and get these potential startups who are there to scale up their ventures. So it could be that you just have an idea, you enter into the incubator. The Atal Incubation Centers really help you to take that from just an idea to an actual venture. And also in many cases, like we do, we help you get VC funding. We also get to try and get to angel investors. So you can also scale up. And we also work along with the district administration, which is there, so that you can run your pilot projects. So many of the AICs do that. So then, of course, at the school level, you have the Atal Tinkering Lab. So if you have any school students, any girl students who are there in schools, try and reach out to your school and ask if there is any ATL. If not, there are usually hubs created wherein an Atal Tinkering Lab also helps out schools which are there in their jurisdiction. So if you don't have it in your own school, there will be a school which is nearby, which would have an Atal Tinkering Lab, because there are more than 7,000 labs across the country, right? And along with the ATLs, there are mentors of change, so people who really help support these schools. Then regional MOCs. So like people like me, we help just because we want to create change. We want to create that positive social change. And that's all. I mean, for us, it's not about the money. It's about more like, how can we give back to the society? So that's what happens. Then NSTEDB. Now this is one big daddy of a funding which happens. So under this, you have so many schemes. So Nidhi scheme, which is there. Then you have the seed support scheme. This is funds which are given to people who are there as part of an incubator. Then you have the entrepreneur in residence, the people who are there, they get paid to carry out their ventures. Now, what could be better than that? So not only are you working on your venture, but you're also getting paid to do that. Many of the state governments do that. Okay. So the Uttar Pradesh government gives a bit of a funding for entrepreneurs to carry out their monthly expenses. Kerala Startup Mission does that. You have it in Karnataka, you have it in Jammu, not Kashmir, you have it in Jammu. So many states in our country are actually working on this. So yes. And Nidhi Prayas, this is for a non-IT product. So don't think that all good things come only to the IT or the tech-based people. So non-IT people also have this, that up to 10 lakhs is given for a physical product. And this is also through an incubator. Then you have the Nidhi Accelerator program, which is a 12 to 26 program, which is given for market access. Like in AIC-BIMTECH, we are working along with South Korea and also Canada and a few other countries to provide international market access. So both ways. So we also give our startups market access to these countries, and the agencies which are there in those countries, they work along with us to give access to their startups. So last month only we did a project with the South Korea to give market access to 10 Korean startups. And some of our startups, they also decided to look at the South Korean market. So similarly for Canada, Israel, and many other countries. So, and it's a premium product which is there. Then of course we have this Nidhi also Center of Excellence, which is there. And this is basically given for one specific domain which is there. So it could be transport, it could be biotech, it could be artificial intelligence, machine learning, anything. But then it's pretty specific on the domain. So you have to decide, like Once you decide which area that you're going to start your venture in, then you just scan through the environment and see where you have the Nidhi COE, and then you can apply under that particular scheme which is there. Non-governmental, again, a lot of them which are there: Academy of Women Entrepreneurs, United Nations Women Schemes, the CSR funded programs, and of course, like I had mentioned, the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Program, which was run across 21 countries. And in India, we ran it for a few states. Right now, I am Bangalore is doing that. So if any of you are there, you can reach out to them and have a look at it. So how do incubators help? I mean, I had given you that list of schemes which are there, and I've also said that quite a few of them go through incubators. Now, besides these schemes, incubators help women entrepreneurs not only in ideating, like in our own incubator, we have a program called Coach, which means discovery. So it's discovering that idea, because not every idea suits everybody. I might think about a beautiful idea when it comes to space exploration, but I don't know the beginning of space. So how can I even create a venture which is based on space exploration? So what do I do? If I'm able to get a co-founder who understands the space sector, then yes, good. Otherwise, the program helps you map your own strengths and then makes you look at the opportunities which can be created with those strengths. Okay, everybody is built differently. So each person has got their individual strengths. So with those individual strengths, which are the ventures that would be the best fitment for you, that is what usually incubators try to help you with. So like I said, in our program also, the first level program, which is Coach or Discovery, this is what we help them to discover their own ideas and to understand whether there is a fitment between the idea and the person. So starting with those, how to help you get your team together, how to get funds together, how to get the technology support out here. See, many incubators like us, we offer a lot in soft infrastructure support. Our incubator offers something like 9.2 crores worth of free support. So that means like $20,000 worth of it comes from AWS credit. So if you're starting a software-based venture, you need that kind of support. So you get it free for a year. So those kind of things come through an incubator. If you're struggling on your own, you don't get these kind of support. So that's why the government has pushed for the creation of so many incubators, because this kind of support systems which the ventures need right at that baby steps is what is given to you. So also creating your business strategy, because you might have the idea, but how do you actually translate it into a venture? How do you create that business strategy, right? Getting the first sales, how do you do it? Getting the sales team also, what is your marketing strategy? How do you go about branding it? All these things are taught in the various training workshops which are there in most incubators, right? And many times the incubators also help in the registration and incorporation of your venture also. So you might get some subsidies on that. So look at all these things, okay? And I'll stop here and I'll prefer to take up questions, because I think I've given you an overview of many things which are available for women entrepreneurs. So I told you about the challenges, and most of the challenges, like I said, is our own challenges, the internal challenges which are there, because everything external can be overcome. So how do we do that? And then, of course, what the environment has in store for you. So all these opportunities are there. So now you let me know if you have any questions that I can pick up, because sometimes questions expose much more information than just talking about it. Yes. So how many minutes do we?
So we have sufficient time of about 15 minutes that we can take up questions. And till the time other participants are collaborating their thoughts to come up and bring up the questions, I see there is one question that has been asked already. And I'll just read out the question for you. What are the kind of, so this is me. How can we set up successful incubation center in colleges which are just starting to venture in this space?
Okay, so I think this has been asked by Chitraji. So Chitraji, the thing is, each college, each academic institution has got its own strength. So if you are an engineering institution, when you start an incubation center, you don't need anything more than just some space and a good dedicated person who can kind of get together all the details which are there, which are required by an entrepreneur. So when I say, suppose ground level, nothing is there, right? So how do you go about it? First of all, you need to catalyze your students because they will be your first pipeline. So you need to do some ideation workshops. You need to do some business plan workshops. You need to do some trainings out there, like how to write a business plan, how to create ventures. How do you go about identifying opportunities? So you do these kind of workshops and you will get the pipeline. And that's how the incubator starts. So the pipeline on one side, and on the other side, if you have one or two dedicated people, these people can then create the kind of support infrastructure which is required by the potential entrepreneurs, that is your students. So what would they need? They would need labs. So if you're an engineering institution, you already have the labs with you. So all that the students need is proper access to the labs, even beyond working hours. So that needs to be worked out with the management. Or maybe some kind of small payment can be made, some nominal payment which is there. Then what else? They need a network wherein they can reach out to mentors and guides. So herein again, the team which is there, the incubator team, they need to scan the environment and see if the ideas which are coming in are from the, say, artificial intelligence side, then who can be the mentors? So reach out to them and then get those people on board to become mentors. And that's how the core of incubation starts. Incubation is not about space. It's good to have some space, but even without that space, you can start and go ahead. And once you start working on this area, like I said, there's a lot of funding which comes from the government for creating incubation centers. And even under the NEP, the new education policy which has come in, at 2%, I think 1% or 2% of whatever is the revenues of the institution has to be put in for entrepreneurship and the innovation ecosystem. So you can always talk to the management and tell them that this is what is required and how we can go it. I mean, there's a methodology to it. I mean, I will not be able to take the entire thing in this particular session, but if you reach out to me, I'll give my email ID. You can just reach out to me and I'll tell you how you can go about setting it up in such a manner that it becomes a world-class incubator. So we are also hand-holding a lot of incubators across our region to help them reach to a certain level. And then Mukta, I think you asked a question, what are the kind of workshops and short-term education trainings available?
Yeah, I think we can park that one. I see a hand raise from Santosh Das. So how does it work? Are you able to unmute yourself or would you be able to type in the chat box to ask the question? Santosh, I think you will have to type in the chat box.
Yeah, Santosh has come on to the panel. Santosh, can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Madam, can ACM help our organization to getting out for setting of some startup or setting up innovation with the students in our institutions?
Absolutely, why not? I don't think there's any reason why they should not be happy doing that, because the whole idea is to create that kind of an environment wherein everybody collaborates. You know, like the days of competition are long gone. It's the day of collaboration. You have got your strengths, ACM has got its strengths, we all have our different strengths. So let's all work together to create that kind of an environment. And remember, the successes that are created under this kind of collaborations is a joint success. It's a success for everybody, right? So Santosh ji, I don't think there's going to be any issue with collaborating. But then I'm giving it over to Mukta and the rest of the ACM team to kind of work it out.
Hello, madam.
Yes, Santosh.
Actually, the thing is that the budding engineer, which is actually coming out from the institution, they lack of the knowledge. That means the sufficient knowledge to work in the industry. So basically, I thought that the industry academia or the industry academia bridge is much more important in this regard.
Yes,
So,
Santosh, I completely agree with you, and I see a lot of work happening to bridge that gap. So I myself coming from industry, and when we are doing such session, they are initially the first step for bridging this gap. That is what I can say. But apart from that, I see a lot of initiations that have taken place for bridging the gap of industry and academia. A lot of problems that the research people are working on is coming from industry, and the doors are open. Probably you can reach out to the team at ACM-W if you have a women chapter, how to establish even one that can also be helped you with, or otherwise a general engineering student or any other people who are in the computing field. We can set up from the ACM side, but otherwise, as Dr. Abha mentioned, right, there's no restriction to be taking part it as an ACM level only, but there are other means to it. I think Hina ma'am, you would like to add something here.
Yes, particularly if you have a ACM chapter, then you are getting the benefit of networking, and from networking you can identify many people in the related fields.
yes.
So it will be very much helpful. So if you have good network, then you can identify people.
Yes, ma'am. Is it possible after pandemic is over or the situation is normal, then if ACM conduct a workshop in our institution physically?
We definitely will see the situation, and we are organizing many ACM celebrations also. So state level celebration we can organize, and
so I think what Hina ma'am was telling is we can work out the plan and accordingly we can work.
Yes,
so that's not a problem that we see. Definitely yes, the answer to the question.
If you have ACM student chapter, it will be more benefited. So start to get first ACM on your campus as a chapter, and then we can find the different networking, and we can do a lot with the chapter activities.
And as well as for your kind information, I am also starting the Smart India Hackathon 2022 from this year actually, and now there is a session of Dr. Abhay Jere, Chief Innovation Officer, MHRD. So there is a new thought process of the student and the innovation also. So
actually, this NEP, the new education policy which has come in, it has made a lot of difference. Because for one, earlier when students used to think about ventures, they were really discouraged. But with this NEP, a lot of encouragement and especially credits for the time spent, and also the fact that, like I said, most educational institutions are now being pushed by AICT to fund these kind of innovation activities on campus is being done. So you have the ARIA ranking also, which is there. There's a lot of things which now is being pushed by the government, and different agencies are working in it in their own methods, like AICT through the NEP, the ARIA ranking, and the other the other college rankings which are there. So yes, times are changing, and it's like I said, for the innovation side of it, it's definitely good.
yes,
So,
yeah, I think the question that I was asking Abha was regarding the kind of short-term workshops and training, because we had spoken about lot many schemes and the facilities for setting up funding is being shared, and maybe as you're saying, the incubation centers are the one who are going to help us out with many of the hand-holding that is needed. But what I was just thinking is, even before women start thinking in the directions of entrepreneurship, something that gets them ready to think in the direction of entrepreneurial activities, some of the activities or workshops or some short-term training programs that you are aware would be very useful for people to be aware.
Sure.
And the general question is how to find good mentors for the startups.
Hiraji, actually, that's something which is a big conundrum. I'll tell you what, like for around 70,000 startups, we have something like 70 lakh mentors. You go on to LinkedIn and you type in mentor and you will get 70 lakh hits. But the problem is not many of these mentors are real mentors. Many of them are in there with their own agenda.
Yes,
And
yes.
not there to help. So that's where getting certified mentors through various organizations, like most of the incubators and accelerators and others, they actually get in only those people who are good people. I mean, who can really add value without creating much of a issue for the startups. So
Earlier,
it's something we have
earlier I
burned
was
our
working
fingers.
Yes, earlier I was working with Ahmedabad University and we have venture studio, and some of the product is after 6-7 years we are identifying some good products, and the venture studio is in, now we can say it is real in the real position. So it takes lots of time.
Great.
So
But
how to
yeah, please
how to fill the gap to that time? This is the main thing.
So that's what I said. You really need to network. So if you have that core team, just even 2-3 people, if you can start and reaching out to all the people that you think can add value to what the startups need. So it doesn't need to be just mentors. You can also think about coaches. So people who are good at strategy, right? People who are good at bootstrap marketing. How do you get them to come and give those kind of sessions with the potential startups, the students who are there? So just bring them, ask them to give some sessions on certain things. So starting right from the basics, like even just how to ideate, like I said, it's important for the students and the potential entrepreneurs to understand that every idea is not good for you. Ideas are good, but it may not be good for you. So how do you identify which ideas are good for you? How do you map your strengths to what is there in the existing environment? Understand those opportunities. So those kind of workshops are very necessary. And I mean, you can always reach out to me. So if anything comes up, I'll be more than happy to send you the information which you can share with your network.
And generally, women are not ready to take the loans. That is the main problem.
But Hinaji, things have changed, because now when you're getting loans without having to give collateral, and also, the way your venture is created, whether it is a proprietorship or whether it's a LLP, because LLP is one of the best methods through which you can have your venture creation without putting too much stress on your own finances, right? So it's a limited liability partnership. So your liabilities are limited. And that actually addresses one of the concerns many women have. Like, if I take a loan, if I don't succeed tomorrow, will I lose my house? So that kind of things can be addressed by looking at the kind of entity that you actually register your venture under. Okay.
Thank you for the insights. Thank you very much, Abha.
I think we are coming to the closure of the time that we've been allotted. And let me take this 2 minutes to actually thank you, Dr. Abha, for your time today. It was wonderful listening to you from the very basics of why women should take entrepreneurship to the kind of challenges that we have, even to first sell it to our families and the peers, and then how to handle those pressures. And then finally, there are a lot of schemes. At least I wasn't aware of many of them. And I'm sure this is going to help many of the participants as a source of one resource where they can come and see that there are so many places these helping hands are available, and how that ecosystem has changed. And finally, the incubation center, as you mentioned, that there are many and they are spread across the country. I would urge all the women entrepreneurs, even those who are not thinking of starting their ventures, start thinking in the lines and start taking the current ecosystem's help to come up and come forward. Thank you so much for the envisioning talk today.
You're welcome. And I'll just type in the email ID for the incubator. So if you have got any questions, you can always reach out to us. Okay. And or I'll just put in mine only.
Yeah, I think we will be able to pick it from the chat box and circulate among the participants.
So this is my email ID itself. So can do that. So thank you so much. It has been nice interacting with all of you, and I really wish you all the best for this particular event. And I hope at least some of our listeners think about starting their own ventures. So here is to
Sure.
all of us. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful talk. This is definitely a step towards empowering women and their entrepreneurial objectives.